Words. Words break reality into pieces, creating illusions of isolated things out of an actual singularity. Ideas behind words take on a significance of their own. Volume 5 pieces expose words and ideas as artificial, to reveal the interrelated oneness, which is the essence of the reality you encounter. An old paradox of science: does light consist of particles or waves? Better question, are you a particle or a wave, or something else altogether? The Essence of Reality explores how the psyche, which you are, creates the reality you encounter. So, you found the Essence of Reality, a unique look at how life actually works. Here you pierce standard thinking to see how you attract events and relationships and thus create your own life. Understanding life is all about awareness, and that is only ever diminished by beliefs and common notions. Here we expose fallacy in common thinking, which means we really do have much to cover here and in other episodes. The nature of your being, that's the point here. What you are in essence, how life works. When you grasp that, when you clearly perceive the pervading core of your being, your life quality and your engagement of it will improve considerably. Now, I can easily tell you what you are at your core, but the mind works in such a way that no matter how clear my explanation, you won't grasp it fully. No matter how adept I am at illustrating the integrated nature of consciousness and reality, your deeply rooted beliefs will preclude full recognition of life's function. So, in my public voicing of the essence of reality, I write books. I've had a website out there since the last millennium. I give talks internationally. Conflict is built into our mindset. It's a default notion in our culture and in our modern Western mindset that we're separate from the world and we have to fight with it. But holding that value of conflict per se causes you to build it into your life. If you don't quite grasp how life works, you won't get your fingers on this connectivity, this inviolable connection that you have with the world that you encounter. And I script, perform, edit, produce, and post these videos. But my message isn't simply passing along information to you. As noted, that doesn't accomplish the task. What I do, provided you're open-minded, is fully and effectively expose standard shared ideas as flawed. For you to see clearly, for you to see reality clearly, you need to disengage false ideas you currently hold, and those can be, indeed, abundant and very deeply embedded in your subconscious. So, okay, what are you? Mostly people think of themselves as a person, an individual biological unit, contained within the confines of their skin. An object, you might say, a thing. But that thing, you are, is capable in some mysterious fashion of thinking. It reasons, it interacts with others and carries out complex tasks. Indeed, that physical unit you are is capable of loving and hoping and imagining a better existence, and of feeling and empathizing over others' feelings. So, much of my effort here is to get you to look beyond that surface image, that mere physical presence, to delve into the multidimensional nature of your total self. And this episode, venturing in that direction, harkens back to an old debate in the realm of science as to the nature of the physical universe. Whether light consists of particles or waves, and it leads to whether you too pose that same question. Don't expect a lecture here on quantum mechanics or even classical physics. Neither would get you a personal grasp of what you are, and either would cloud the issue if you actually listen long enough for me to cover those topics. This episode is just a look at what you are and how your life functions. I've used many doors to enter that room. This is yet another. Tom Nair here. I speak from a unique standpoint. I've spent years clearing away deceiving ideas to achieve what I call clear awareness. Life works well when you see that you alone drive yours. So these videos are intended only to help you see past common misconceptions, to recognize how life actually works. People have been trying to understand the nature of the universe for a long time. A long, long time for that matter. For most humans along the way, simple acceptance of the prevailing notions of their society was good enough. Taught to believe in gods that made them, most aren't equipped with the curiosity and intellect to question and explore beyond standard thinking. Nor do they possess the requisite fortitude. Curiosity, intellect, and fortitude are all necessary because cultures invariably don't like their prevailing ideas to be questioned. No religion embodied in its functional priesthood tolerates questioning its declarations. Our Western culture was dominated for centuries by Christianity, for example. Questioning church authority or correctness could get you roasted at the stake for much of Christianity's run. You could be ostracized or tortured simply for voicing doubt about the phony tenets they put forth as truth. Science from about 1600 emerged into our culture, allowing eventual growth of technology, communication, manufacturing, and a much more complex system of civilization. But science doesn't answer all aspects of life. It did induce and facilitate our ancestors to outgrow religion. That was good. But in its own way, it hides key vital aspects of mankind's core nature. And you can be sure the established academic and industrial body of science, now deeply embedded in our culture, won't ever consider that its core technique, empiricism, is fundamentally flawed. Science is a belief structure, much like religion, in that regard. It's like this. People, most of them, just don't like to consider that they are wrong. People in authority are even worse. Those in positions of power in various church organizations or scientific hierarchies would vigorously oppose any emerging ideas that would threaten not only their core worldview but their status in society, and worse, their source of income. Well, looking back in historical times, it was science itself that emerged in the face of church resistance, establishing empiricism as a means to clearly test reality to determine physical processes. That, eventually, through the centuries, became a cornerstone technique for modernizing living. Eventually, it became embedded in cultural thinking, posing its own limits to further growth. But it certainly served to drag mankind out of totally dedicated, blind adherence to fictional gods. I would focus here on one particular step taken by science to explain the physical realm. Interesting in its attempt to determine the nature of light, science will actually help me get my point across about the nature of consciousness. Early on, atoms and subatomic particles were noted as tiny bits that formed molecules that collected in complex structures of all things. The question then came up as to the nature of light. It is, after all, light emitted by the sun and other sources reflecting off the surfaces of things that provides the visual display of the physical realm. Science had come to see the nature of molecules as specialized components of all things, along with the atoms that comprise them and the protons, electrons, neutrons that make up atoms. But what about light? Light seemed to act like waves in early testing. When waves in water pass through a slit, they flow out in patterns, not straight through. Light seemed to act like that. It could be regarded like waves with measurable qualities of wavelength and frequency. At some point, way back in the late 19th century, it was proposed that the universe was permeated by ether, a supposed medium through which light flowed as waves. When it was shown that ether didn't really exist, science found that light consisted of particles, then named them photons, that in large numbers acted like waves. So light actually embodies something of both qualities, waves and particles, as does practically everything else. Imagine the ocean or a lake. Water molecules and some dissolved materials make up those bodies of water. All particles, to be sure, but in their flow and interaction with air and gravity, waves travel over and through the water all the time. So, water consists of particles, but acts like waves. Alrighty then, what about you? As noted back at the beginning of this piece, most people see themselves as a physical being, an object. That's roughly equivalent to particles in the wave versus particle analogy to light, a firm and fixed thing wending its way through the environment. But that is an illusion, and here's why. Your body consists of some 6 trillion cells specialized in carrying out complex tasks in unison. All in all, about 60% of your body is water. Daily, you take in water and eliminate it through urine, sweat, and exhaled moisture. In that way, you yourself are like a living, flowing wave. Each day you consume food items in a variety. Carbohydrates provide energy for each cell. Proteins replace, on a cellular level, materials broken down and eliminated, including cells that have died. Those dead cells have been replaced by others, split off as cells divide. All of that growth, as well as normal healing, require an infusion of proteins along with vitamins and minerals. So, you consume food, quite happily in most cases, daily. What your body doesn't use, it eliminates as feces. What it does use eventually gets flaked off as skin sheds. Hair is trimmed off or dead cells get cleaned away and their material reused or eliminated. You are an equilibrium of intake and exhaust. Considering food along with water, you are like a wave of material flowing in, being used, and being eliminated. Looked at like that, you are very much like a wave. Now, what do you think? Scientists found that light had properties of particles, individual units of a light beam, but also acted like waves in large numbers. Considering the trillions of cells in your body, their components, liquid basis and energy flowing in and out, so are you very much like the crest in a wave of materials flowing in and out. You hadn't thought of it that way, had you? If that little comparison has opened up some new consideration, let me just add briefly one other concept. Your life flows in an altogether other fashion as patterns of events and relationships unfold into your encounter daily. If you can consider the alternate view of your own being as wave-like essence, do also consider that it flows in meaning as well as substance, and that will get you beyond the physical realm and well towards grasping the complexity of your integrated totality, the physical imprint itself flowing in a meaningful oneness with and within the reality you encounter. My message isn't simply passing along information to expose standard shared ideas as flawed. People, most of them, just don't like to consider that they are wrong. For you to see reality clearly, you need to disengage false ideas you currently hold. Much of my effort here is to get you to look beyond that surface image, to delve into the multidimensional nature of your total self. One particular step taken by science to explain the nature of light, science found that light consisted of particles that, in large numbers, acted like waves. Considering food along with water, you are like a wave of material flowing in, being used, and being eliminated. You are very much like a wave. You hadn't thought of it that way, had you? One other concept. Your life flows in an altogether other fashion as patterns of events and relationships unfold into your encounter daily. It flows in meaning as well as substance. The complexity of your integrated totality flowing in a meaningful oneness with and within the reality you encounter.